Welcome back to TechNet Radio. In today's Community Corner, we welcome Victor Chataboon from the Houston SharePoint User Group. Listen in as our host, John Weston, chats with Victor about SharePoint Saturday meetings, features and benefits of upgrading to SharePoint 2010, as well as practical uses for Office web apps. John, the mic is yours.
Hello and welcome to this episode of TechNet Radio's Community Corner. I'm John Weston with Microsoft, and the TechNet Radio Community Corner, we talk to folks that run user groups or help out with the community in lots of different ways in different parts of the country, talk about their community, the technologies that they're involved with. And today on the show, I've got my guest, Victor Chataboon. Welcome, Victor.
Hi, John. How are you?
Doing good. So Victor's from Houston, and I know he works with the Houston SharePoint User Group. Tell us a little bit about your background and what do you do for a day job?
Okay, well, for almost 9 years, I've been working at a large regional bank. My last position was an enterprise architect, and I was involved in getting a small local bank up to enterprise standards from a few hundred employees and a handful of servers to several thousand employees and hundreds of servers. Recently, I left and I started in November 2010 with Idera as their SharePoint sales engineer. Mid-February, I transferred to a new role as their community manager to manage our community involvement projects where we participate along our product lines, which consist of SQL, SharePoint, and PowerShell.
Great. So you're definitely getting more involved in the community, and hey, that's part of your day job now. That's cool. That's great.
That is correct.
So tell us about the Houston SharePoint User Group. Did you start it? All that kind of stuff?
I did not start it. It was started by 3 people in a consulting company where they felt like there was a need to have a common place for people to know more and discuss their ideas around SharePoint. And this started in early 2007. I was approached by them after I started attending, and I took over the group in early 2009. We try to get a new leadership group of officers every year. When I started, the group was starting to stagnate and growth was not happening. So I took a good look at the situation and decided some changes needed to be made. So recently I left as the actual president, and I actually now serve as the board chair guiding our officers. Since then, we've grown to be one of the largest user groups in the U.S. We meet every third Wednesday of the month, and we now feature a 2-track format where members can actually choose to attend a technical or a general presentation. So
that's great. So you guys meet at the Microsoft office on the west side of Houston, right?
That is correct.
That's cool. And so how many members would you say you have overall, and then how many typically come to a monthly meeting?
We don't really keep a count of members, but I know we have over 2,000 members. We have an average attendance around 100 people every month.
Wow, that's great.
All right. We do encourage our presentations to be, vendor agnostic and focus really on the content.
That's great. So tell me, what's the website of the user group so people can find out more information?
Okay, our current website is h-spug.com. It's currently on a SharePoint 2007 environment. We are actually in the process of moving to a SharePoint 2010 environment, which we've been building over the past few months, and that is scheduled to go online in mid-March. And if you want to take a peek at it, you can do that by going to h-spug.org.
Ah, cool. So you've got a sample new website up there getting ready to go so people can take an early look at it. That's great. Also know that you run SharePoint Saturday that's there in Houston. Tell us what that's all about.
Okay. Well, in 2009, after the user group was kind of starting to hum along and things were moving in place, I saw the need in the Houston market to have the SharePoint Saturday event here. It's kind of hard being the 4th largest city in the U.S. and not hosting such an event. So I felt that we needed to address that. I began contacting the original SharePoint Saturday organizers to begin planning the event, and also took a good look at the concerns from an attendee point of view and began formulating a good plan for us to succeed. I knew I couldn't do it myself, so I recruited members in HSpug to help, and we've been we began looking at all the factors and prioritizing them as needed. One of our goals was to make the event a great experience for our attendees, speakers, and sponsors. So we made the decision to raise the bar on our standards, try to make it a little nicer, that kind of stuff. Obviously, that requires a lot more funding, so we approached our sponsor pool to see if this was something that we could accomplish. Well, I was actually really surprised at the number of sponsors that would commit, and so for the first time we had our event in 2010, we had a number of attendees at 375.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of great feedback from our sponsors and our attendees.
So when's the one coming up in 2011?
Okay, 2011 is what we call on a prime date because it's May 7th, 2011, so we're going by the tag of 5.7.11.
That's great. And so I was reading on your blog today, it looks like a call for speakers is going to go out pretty shortly for that, huh?
That is correct. We're anticipating our speaker call will be on March 1st. We're trying something new with our new SharePoint 2010 environment as we're doing this all online, utilizing the power of SharePoint 2010.
That's great. So why do you invest so much? I mean, obviously it takes a lot of your personal time to run SharePoint Saturday and to run this SharePoint group. Why do you invest so much time in community?
Well, one of the things I discovered in the IT world is that it can be hard to find the right information at the right time. You know, I remember spending countless hours researching problems. In some work environment, the problem isn't as large because there may be several people involved on the same team where you can utilize each other. On the other hand, the majority of the environments, there's only one person that has to be the problem solver. And so when I began attending the user group in late 2007, I saw that there were many others in the same position as I was. So there was many times that I had the answer that someone else needed, and in turn there were others that had the answer that I needed. And as a result, I feel like it makes me feel as a better person and helps people empower themselves, and also allows me to establish new professional relationships.
That's great. So your community is everything from networking to getting answers solved to you know, finding people, maybe even that next job, all in one evening at your user groups.
That is correct.
That's cool. So you mentioned when you took it over, you helped the group was kind of stagnating. What do you do to market your group? Or I know a lot of user group leaders listen to these radio shows. So how do people, you know, obviously take success stories? Tell us how you took it from stagnant to growing again.
Right. Well, one of our main goals with marketing our events was, you know, we had to get the word out. And how do we do that? Well, we can do that by word of mouth, but, you know, that only goes so far. What we try to do is email our members with a monthly newsletter. We also utilize our website, LinkedIn, Twitter, and a little bit on Facebook to help with the promotions. We also established a marketing committee made up of members that can help quickly get the word out and also develop materials that we can use for promotions.
That's great. So a lot of online activity, more than just word of mouth, or really getting out there and spreading the word.
That is correct.
And predictable, right? I mean, it sounds like a monthly newspaper. People know when the group's going to meet every month, and then they know all the information they would need to know about the group. They're sent a newsletter, and I assume most of that information could be found on the website as well.
That is correct. We try to make everything very consistent and on the same time frame so that even though someone may not have a chance to look at the website and register, they know that every third Wednesday of the month they show up and they can have a good time and meet new people and learn something new.
That's great. So with all your investment in the community, how has that impacted your personal career or your business?
My personal career has greatly benefited. There's many times when I've, you know, looked at other people's ideas, lessons learned, and strategies to kind of help improve my knowledge. There's been many times that I just didn't know what the next step would be. You know, I'm stumped at a problem, and having others around me to turn to really help better understanding what that problem would be in our next step, as well as help cultivate my professional relationship.
That's great. Definitely worth the time, involvement, and as well as giving back to the community also. So where do you see technical communities going in the future, maybe 5 years out?
I can see that they're going to continue to grow and continue to serve. You know, there's always going to be new, I guess you could say, new blood in the mix, and it's always good to kind of expand our knowledge, and you always get new ideas. And when you bring a lot of people together, there's always a good chance that you're going to have that happen.
Yep. And I think they'll definitely continue to grow. I think they'll always have a place in technology. That's great. Well, let's kind of switch role modes here from community over to the technical side. Obviously, I want to talk about SharePoint, since you being such a SharePoint guru. You know, what would you say is your favorite feature in the new 2010?
My favorite feature is actually the ability to quickly edit information. You know, a lot of care has been placed in the development of making the user interaction with the actual interface a more simple process.
That sure has changed over previous versions, hasn't it?
That is correct. It's, you know, really nice to just click and type and just go, you know, without having to click a drop down and choose edit and then, you know, click OK when you're done.
Yep. I was at an event the other day, and a lot of people were SharePoint users in the room, and I asked them, I said, okay, how many of you are on 2007 or before, or how many of you are on 2010? And there's only a handful of people already on 2010, and I was kind of surprised. In your opinion, why should people go ahead and upgrade to 2010?
Well, the 2010 platform brings a lot of new web technology to the user. It does allow them to set up their data within SharePoint at a much easier, take the ability to link lists. Previously this wasn't a viable option for your regular user, and now they can actually quickly and easily do that, where it's actually easy to understand and configure. Some of the things that I think are causing people to kind of wait on the upgrade process is where they have current issues with their current environment. Maybe things weren't set up correctly. So I think a lot of people are taking time to sit back and really plan ahead effectively, and so that they don't come across these problems down the road.
Yeah, so it's a big jump from 2007 to 2010, so maybe it's a good opportunity to clean up some of those mis-setups in previous versions.
Right.
So I know one of the new features is web apps. Do you have anybody using that yet that you know of?
We actually, as a user group, use that internally. We decided, especially with the call for speakers for SharePoint Saturday in 2010, we had 30 tracks available, and we had over 60, presenters submit. And it was really hard for that committee to track that information. So what we did with 2010 was designed a nice, simple process within 2010 so that people can actually submit their information online. We didn't have to worry about being hung up on emails, having the wrong email address or whatever. And then they can actually look online to see where the approval process is with our speakers committee.
That's great. Yeah, I use the PowerPoint app version of it all the time. I may be out doing a presentation and not have a machine that has PowerPoint on it. And that's not a problem anymore. I keep all my decks up on a SharePoint site and can just, broadcast them from there.
Right. And we've had the problem in the past where, a presenter submitted their slide deck, using the new Office 2010 formats, and, when we posted them, we'd get complaints that, we don't have that, 2010, we've got to, can you convert that for us? So now with web apps, it's, pretty seamless.
That's great. One last one on SharePoint. What do you think is the most surprising feature of the new version? What if one that people don't know about?
The new surprising, I think some of the Web 2.0 components, especially Ajax. I think a lot of people don't really understand what that is and how that actually could help them. I mean, it's going to allow you to automatically refresh your screen if you desire, and without having to do a manual refresh. So people can actually see the latest information appear automatically, within the browser without having a postback.
That's great. That's cool. Well, I sure appreciate you joining us today on the Community Corner. I always get asked as part of these interviews on how to get a hold of the speakers that have joined us. So first let me share my contact information, and then we'll get Victor to do the same. If you want to get a hold of me, it's john.weston or jweston@microsoft.com. I can have a blog out there at blogs.technet.com/jweston. Got a new one out there that I just started, johnweston.us. for external stuff. And then I'm also on Twitter at the TechNet Guy, or TechNet Guy. You can be able to search and find me on that. Victor, you want to tell us how to get a hold of you and or SharePoint Saturday in Houston or the Houston SharePoint group?
Sure. For my information, my email address is victor.chataboon, and that's CHATABOON, at idera, and that's IDERA.com. I do have a blog. It's a personal blog, but it's got some SharePoint tips on there too. It's goodguytx.com/blog. For the user group, the best way to contact us is through our website, and actually I'll just go ahead and tell you about our new website since it's about to go live, and that's h-spug.org. We do have Twitter, so you can follow hspug. And then you can sign up for SharePoint Saturday by going to the SharePoint Saturday website. That's sharepointsaturday.org/Houston.
Great. Well, I sure appreciate you joining us today on the Community Corner, and you have a great day. Thanks again.
Thanks, John.